Today's topic of discussion is overview of regulatory environment in USA, Europe and India. We are getting approval from the regulatory authority for conducting a clinical trial. Uh, Throughout the world, there is no common regulatory authority. There is a common guidelines are there, but regulatory authorities are regionally there. In their country, they are regulating. But some regulatory guidelines like FDA regulatory authorities, there we are getting we are getting approval from FDA that is applicable to many countries. Those who are exporting to US and many countries are following their guidelines. Those who don't have their own regulations. So like that, US FDA is globally accepted regulatory guideline. In India also we have our own regulatory guidelines. Accordingly, we are controlling the clinical trial procedures in India. Here, the act which governs the clinical trial is Drugs and Cosmetic Act. In this, specially we made a Schedule Y. That schedule specially governs the guidelines, rules and regulations, regulatory principles, all everything related to clinical trials which are conducted in Indian territory. So why we should need to know about regulations? Because regulation serves to maintain the public trust, that the trust in research results and outcomes, trust the patients and human subjects are given the best care and treatment, and trust that scientific investigations is done responsibly. So if there is a legal protection, only the participants, those who enrolled in the studies, will feel themselves that they are safe. They are under the supervision of the government, legally protected. So we need to know the regulatory agencies which are functioning, how strong they are, how they are controlling each and every research activities taking place in their territory. Proper regulatory system ensures the quality, safety, efficacy, and standards of medicinal products for sale, importing, and manufacturing. See, one new product is launched today. Immediately, it is confidently written by the prescribers, prescribed to the patients, purchased by the patients, and it is used. This confidence we are getting because of the strong functioning ability of regulatory agencies functioning in their country. So we are believing on them. So now, there won't be any harm to our health because it is properly regulated, assessed, proper necessary precautionary steps. Everything were taken during clinical trial procedures, so it is safe. Like that, we are having confidence. Effective regulation of medicines require variety of functions. These functions include safety evaluation, efficacy data from clinical trials, licensing and inspecting manufacturing facilities and distribution channels. Other main tasks include monitoring adverse drug reactions for investigational and marketed drugs and controlling drug promotion and advertising. So these all areas, they should be very closely monitored and regulated. So a proper regulatory agency, they should have a special division, subdivisions among them to control all these activities taking place in the country. Some are during clinical trial, some are after the clinical trial, that need to be controlled. To control such activities throughout the globe, we have many type of regulatory agencies. In some countries, all functions related to drug regulations are handled by a single agency, while other states or provinces governments have some different classification of regulatory agencies. In India also we have different setup, not only maintained by CDSCO. We have other subdivisions among them. So all are managing each and every assigned goal. So regulatory agencies worldwide network is like this. Global regulatory agencies are ICH and World Health Organization. These ICH guidelines prescribes the good clinical practices. Accordingly, only throughout the world, and the research is taking place. So, like that, only one country invests and finds some medicine, and that is used in another country, because there is a global guidelines. So, all are following same guidelines. So that confidence grows. One person's investigation is confidently accepted in another territory and used. Like that, this is a global guideline, and then national guideline. If you take, you can say the example of US FDA, Food and Drug Administration of United States government, is maintaining the clinical trials taking place in their territory. They are the regulatory agencies nationwide. Like that, MHLW is the regulatory agency of Japan. That full form is Ministry of Health and Labor Welfare. That is a regulatory agency of Japan, MHLW. Like that, MHRA is the regulatory agency of United Kingdom. United full form is Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, MHRA. Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, MHRA. Like the TGA. TGA is the regulatory agency of Australia. The full form is Therapeutic Goods Administration. Therapeutic Goods Administration, TGA. CDSCO, we all know, that is the regulatory agency of India. That is Central Drug Standard Control Organization. CDSCO is the regulatory agency of India. And then apart from this, we have regulatory agencies regional wise. What is national wise, regional wise difference is, many countries regionally join and have some associations. So they mutually interchange their inventions and regulatory guidelines between them. Some example is, well-known example is European Union. We have a wide discussion in our classroom about European Union. Recently, from the European Union, Britain withdrawn and came out from this European Union. Now also German, France, many other countries are there, Sweden, those countries are there in part of European Union. So there they are following their uniform regulatory guidelines. So that is one regional regulatory agencies. Like that, ASEAN. ASEAN is a regional association of countries. That is Association of Southeast Asian countries. Association of Southeast Asian countries are called ASEAN. Southeast Asian countries include Philippines, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia. Those countries have their own regulatory guidelines. Like that, GCC is the regional agency of Gulf Cooperation Council. Gulf countries have their own regulatory guidelines, so they are mutually interchanging their uh, guidelines for approving and clinical trial among them. So GCC is called Gulf Cooperation Council. Like that, PANDRH is a regional council functioning among Pan American countries. There are South American countries are called Pan American countries. Pan American Network for Drug Regulatory Harmonization. Pan American Network for Drug Regulatory Harmonization is the name of that council. So, like that, the regulatory agencies are there globally. Now we are going to discuss about the regulatory environment in India. So we are also there in the part of global regulatory guidelines. So accordingly, India is the pharmacy of the world. Recently, we are all telling about this after this COVID-19 issues. So here the proper regulatory guidelines is very much essential, because everywhere clinical trials are approved and going on. So proper monitoring is essential. Whether the proper monitoring system is there in India means, yes, we have very good monitoring system in India. The principal regulatory body involved in the approval of manufacture, drug development, and marketing of quality drugs in India is called the Central Drug Standard and Control Organization, CDSCO. They are the principal regulatory body. Sometimes we say the regulatory body is DCGI, Director General of Drug Control General of India, DCGI, because DCGI is the functional body under CDSCO. They are directly controls the regulatory guidelines, approval, import, export of medicines. DCGI, uh, Central Drug Control General of India, DCGI, and once again, all the state drug control organizations issues licenses to manufacture approved drugs and to monitor quality of the drugs along with CDSCO. So many state level branches also there for CDSCO. In India, the regulation of drug, medical devices, biological and rDNA products is distributed within various ministries. So this is the way India, the regulatory system is functioning under various ministries. For example, the government of India, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is the ministry controls some part of the regulatory requirements. Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers controls some part. Ministry of Commerce is also controlling some part. Ministry of Science and Technology also have some role in regulatory guidelines. How it is we see. Under Ministry of Family and Health and Family Welfare, the DGHS comes. DGHS means um, Director General of Health Services. Director General of Health Services. Under Director General of Health Services Office, the CDSCO is coming. This CDSCO under that DCGI is coming. DCGI is the functional unit, so directly controls the regulatory guidelines, drug approval, elimination from the market, new additions, everything. And there is a advisory board that functions parallelly to the DCGI, that is called Drug Technical Advisory Board. This is powered by Drugs and Cosmetic Act, TTAB. The role of this DCGI is to enforcement and GMP audit, quality control divisions, registration division, new drug approval division, pharmacovigilance division, conducting training to the pharmacists, like that. This role is done by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers maintains departments of pharmaceuticals. It comes under this department, this ministry. National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, this comes under Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, their role is to control the price of pharmaceuticals in India. They will make the list of essential medicines every year, and they will keep the price fixations for the generic names of the pharmaceuticals practiced in India. So once the generic generic products were fixed with some certain price, whatever name if you sell in India, their price should not exceed the ceiling price. So like that, and the price will be controlled in India. There we have that power, and that comes under the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, NPPA. Then Ministry of Commerce comes under this ministry. Patent Office comes. So any new drugs we are experimenting in India and getting approved by CDSCO, then finally you will go for patenting in India. So for that you have to approach this ministry. It is functioning under Control General of Patents. And then Ministry of Science and Technology, it is funding agency that is providing fund for clinical trials in India, and also executes various level investigations during the process of clinical trial. So they will also do some auditing. So that is ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research. It comes under Ministry of Science and Technology. Like that, DBT, Department of Biotechnology, it comes under ICMR. and then CSIR, Central Scientific Research Institute of Research Labs, or comes under these Ministry of Science and Technology. So a regulatory authority is not under one ministry. It is divided into four ministries in India. Okay, regulatory bodies. As per this regulatory system, we have many functional bodies. They are controlling with their own objective. For example, Drugs Control General of India, I told about this DCGI. They are the main authority for clinical trials, ensures standards, registers all imported drugs, new drugs, biologicals, and medical devices. That is their main job. Like that, Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, main center for biomedical research. Now also we are come across through news about ICMR role in approval of rapid testing kits of COVID-19. So like that, and approval of plasma therapy for COVID-19. So these are done by ICMR. Genetic Engineering Approval Committee, GEAC, is there. Deals with genetic engineering and molecular biology. Trials in which biotech products are used will be referred here by DCGI. Department of Biotechnology, it comes under, we know, we have seen that comes under ICMR. This DBT oversees the development of modern biology and biotechnology in India. So biotechnology products should be approved by DBT, a separate department. Atomic Energy Review Board, AERB, because we have radio pharmaceuticals. So this division also regulating some some inventions related to atomic energy, has regulatory control over radiation equipment. Baba Atomic Research Center approves all radiation related projects and radio pharmaceuticals in India. We are not only using radiopharmaceuticals in diagnostic and therapeutic uses. We are using many diagnostic equipments, radiography equipments, and scanning procedures. So in that also we are using this. So we need to get a regulatory approval from these agencies. Then Drug Consultative Committee, DCC, is an advisory board to the government, provides technical guidance to the central government. Central Drugs Laboratory, CDL, maintains quality control of drug. They will inspect and the samples sent by drug inspectors and evaluators send the reports to the central government about the standards of medicines manufactured in India. And Central License Approving Authority, CLLAA, provides approval for manufacturing licenses to the pharma industries functioning in India. Drug Technical Advisory Board is an advisory board to the government, provides technical guidance to the CDSCO. One more advisory board is DCC. It gives guidance to the central government. In any technical issue, they will seek the guidance from these organizations, and accordingly legislations will be, new amendments will be implemented. National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, I told about this. They are involving in price fixing of or revise the prices of decontrolled bulk drugs and formulations, and periodically updates the list under price control according to guidances. They are supported by the Drug Price Control Order. There is an act, so accordingly they are functioning. Like that, many regulatory bodies are functioning in India. In clinical research regulations in India under DCGI, how it functions we see. CDSCO, under the aegis of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, have the duty of regulating and ensuring the quality of medicines and pharmaceuticals under the Drugs and Cosmetic Act. That is the major organization that controls all the clinical trials taking place in India related to drugs and cosmetics. Under them, a functional agency is DCGI, Drug Control General of India. Under Central Drug Standard Control Organization has prime responsibility for regulating clinical trials in India. They directly control, supervise clinical trials. So the primary regulatory agency is CDSCO. The direct regulatory agency under CDSCO is DCGI for clinical trials. CDSCO is organized in various headquarters, zonal offices, subzonal offices, port offices, and laboratories. Like that, we have many branches throughout India. You see about CDSCO. Under CDSCO, DCGI, and under DCGI, we have headquarters in New Delhi, zonal offices in 4 places, subzonal in 2, port offices 7, because there import export taking place. So we have a regulatory agency offices there itself, and laboratories throughout India 6 are there. Headquarters, their role is approval of new drug, and CLAA means the full form is uh, Council for Licensing and Approving Authority. Sorry, Central Licensing Approving Authority. So they issue licenses and they allow imports, and they also take the guidances from DTAB, Drug Technical Advisory Board, and Drug Consultative Committee. So that is role of headquarter. In zonal office, we do GMP audits. We visit the premises, verify the manufacturing premises, good manufacturing practices will be verified, and regarding certifications will be issued, and coordinations with states. They will guide state governments, necessary advisory role will be done. And subzonal is also provide GMP audits and coordinates with states. And port officers will involve in verification of import and export. They collect samples, verify the standards, accordingly they will allow import export. Then laboratories will involve in testing of drug samples, validation of test protocols. So in the zonal offices, samples will be sent, testing reports will be collected, accordingly their necessary reports will be generated and sent to the government. Okay, then functions of CDSCO. Approval of new drug and clinical trial. We are applying INDA, NDA all to the CDSCO only. To initiate a clinical trial and to continue the clinical trial and to get an approval for a new drug, we need approval from CDSCO. Import registration and licensing. If you want to import some product from abroad, for example, from South Korea, you want to import an COVID-19 testing kit, then kits that should be approved by CDSCO. You have to supply some samples and get inspected by them, get clearance from them, and then you have to import and supply in India. For that, you need to get a license. Licensing of blood banks, uh, vaccines, rDNA products, some medical devices will be approved by CDSCO. Drugs and Cosmetic Act and rules will be implemented in all the stages by CDSCO. And banning of drugs, withdraw from the market, not only drugs, cosmetics will be done by have power CDSCO. Grant of test licenses, personal licenses, and no objection certificates for export, all will be issued by CDSCO. Here it is large volume parenterals. I missed that. I was thinking about this. Licensing blood banks, LVPs, large volume parenterals, vaccines, rDNA products, and some medical devices. Okay, and testing of drugs will be done by CDSCO. So that is their primary role. And clinical trials guidelines in India. The guidelines that governs the conduct of clinical trial in India is Schedule Y, Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940. Ethical guidelines for biomedical research on human subject 2000. That is also there in practice. And then guidelines as per GCP guidelines of CDSCO. It is nothing but the same as per the global ICH GCP guidelines only. Same thing is adopted by CDSCO. And good laboratory guidelines as per CDSCO. Bioavailability, bioequivalence guidances also there in India in practice. National Pharmacovigilance Program 2004. These are the clinical trial guidelines followed in India. Okay, what is Schedule Y? We know very well about the schedules listed under Drugs and Cosmetic Act. Schedule A is about application forms to apply and get licenses. Schedule C1 is biological products, injectable products. Schedule J is about various diseases for that no treatment is available. Schedule X is about narcotics and psychotropic substances. Schedule H is about prescription medicines. Without prescriptions, we should not issue in any counter. Like that, we have many schedules, important schedules I noted. I told you. I like that one important schedule recently added is Schedule Y. The schedule is Y is specially made for controlling the clinical trial activities taking place in India. Regulation and guidelines for permission to import, manufacture of new drugs for sale or to undertake clinical trials, we need to get approval by this Schedule Y only. It has outlined extensive study criteria in line with the globally accepted formats such as ICH and US FDA guidelines. We are almost adopted the same guidelines here. Refer to rules 122A, 122B, D, DA, DAA, and E are the rules under this schedule that explains how the clinical trials to be conducted. So each section regulates each and every part of the clinical trial. We see in deep, Rule 122A explains about permission to import of a new drug in India. 122B, permission to manufacture a new drug. 122D, permission to import and manufacture of an FDC. 122DA, permission to conduct clinical trial for new drug. 122E, definition of giving definition of new drug. So like that, the regulatory guidelines goes. We are going to discuss about applications and for permission to conduct clinical trial in India, how we should file the applications. We know very well about INDA, investigation and new drug applications. What Schedule Y says about that, what are the various stages in that, how it should be filed INDA, and related guidelines, procedures, how to process that application, all we discuss in our next class. Thank you very much for joining. I close my recording now.